we would like to hear and discuss, all of them around product management and how emerging technologies are reshaping our digital products and the possibilities that are enormous, right? That is the focus of the papers today. So we'll, without much delay, we'll start with our first paper. Our first paper is by Mr. Sambit Kumar here, and his paper is about product management at Crossroads. He is posing a very interesting question as to are we ready? Are the current frameworks sufficient, or what should a product manager do today? Right, Sambit, the floor is all yours. I request you to stick to 15 to 20 minutes of time, and then we'll follow it up with any questions that you may have. Right?
Yes, and I think thanks a lot, madam. I really appreciate for giving me the chance to kind of speak in this forum. Unlike an academician, I have never been an academician. I have been a practitioner. I personally is indebted to this institute because I am a graduate from here and the PGPEM course. So yeah, so from that being my history, I will kind of talk a little bit about background of why this topic itself. I have been a practitioner of product management for last 16 years, and I have seen this kind of organization grow in various frames. Today, when I come back to industry and look at product management, it's very different from where we started with. Okay, and is it really the product management we wanted to do, or is it something different? Where is the focus of product management shifting towards? All of that is basically the questions which kind of led me to come up with a framework, and this is what I'm going to discuss here. That's in short what I want to talk about. Unlike other academic discussions so far, which I have seen, this may not have that much of data-intensive research kind of a framework. It will be more of a discussion. A lot about opinions, a lot about how do other frameworks can be used. It's a lot of a material study we have done. It's basically things I have read and learned from, and I'm kind of expressing those. Okay, and they are from the academic literature so that you can really connect to them. But at the same time, it doesn't probably have a lot of first-hand research or kind of data collection and all that as aspects part of this particular discussion. Okay, with that, I'll just share my screen and so that you can we can discuss with that. Okay, so in the agenda, basically, I would like to so let me. Okay, just a minute. I don't know why is this slideshow not working. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so the audience is basically when I talk about audience, is not about this audience. This is of course an academician's audience, but I'm talking about the audience who needs this kind of a framework and why they need it. Okay, and then we'll talk a little bit about the framework and actually let's put a framework and basically retold in the product management context and why that should be helpful. And then a little bit of application I'm trying as a consultant myself in the product management domain, and then we'll come about a little bit on, and I'll leave it the floor to discuss and a kind of debate on whether this framework is really useful and what we can do better on it. Okay, that basically is the principle which I would like to follow. Yeah, so if I look at from a product management concept today, there are three different audiences which we are basically having a bit confused with the product management the way it is working out today. They're confused because there is no such well-defined framework on it, which is kind of telling why product management is necessary for our organization. If you are an established organization, yes, there are processes are already in place. But if you're a new organization, kind of want to scale up, I've got Series A, Series B funding, then basically the scaling level of funding. Then you want to move up in the ladder, move to the next level of the product. Why are you doing product management? Is it really needed? Now, this is one thing which is bothering this senior management, and they are basically thrown with jargons. You do agile processes, you do Scrum. And believe me, most senior managers do not understand any of these agile processes or Scrum or all of these methodologies. How to write story points, they don't understand. And second thing is they don't feel that it's connected to their business in some sense. That is the bigger problem. Not only they don't understand, they'll find there is no connection. The second aspect is aspirants like us who are in the academic community who clear an MBA course and then go to industry and then say, oh, now I have to do product management. That means I have to completely unlearn what I have done in MBA and learn some new stuff. I mean, that's something, or I have to train myself with the courses of product management specific, and then I can become a product manager. And that is probably not true. We'll look at that part. The third part is basically people like me who are kind of worked in the product management industry for about 16 years, 17 years now, want to start our own consulting engagements. How do we explain product management to people? Is it marketing? So this is where I kind of look at what we were taught product management on. This was the book I was taught from. I don't know whether you can see it. It is a classic product management book for marketers. Okay, this is Lem and Weiner. Okay, and this was the framework which was talked about here. I mean, this is basically the standard it is basically coming from Philip Kotler's engagement of product management with different functions, a pure marketing viewpoint of a product management. And that is truly not what is happening in the industry, because if you look at product management organizations no longer report into marketing, but in this book, the organization structure is around marketing. I will not talk about what organizations are doing in terms of product management or what a product manager is doing. That is not relevant. What product management should be is what my focus of this discussion is. So if you are a product management organization and you have to get your organization into doing the product management in the right way, then what are the kind of things your product management organization should focus on? That's basically the principle which I would like to follow. And then I'm coming to the framework next. The framework here is a very standard Porterian framework. Okay, so the only thing you have to basically see the inside, there are Porter 5 forces. The reason I'm talking about 5 forces is sustained competitive. So where does the product management operate? The product management operates inside a business unit of an organization. And a business unit, unlike a company strategy, which is focused on mergers and acquisition, a business unit is focused on sustained competitive advantages. If sustained competitive advantage is the most important aspect of a business unit, then why is not Porter's 5 forces not the driving factor for product management? And that is basically the principle with which I came up with this model. Now, what I do here is I actually taken Porter's 5 forces and associated product management activities around these 5 forces. So there are 5 forces that are affecting me. I would use the thing which product managers are doing and make sure that those forces are contained. That is basically what is basically how you deal with sustained competitive advantages. And they are circular, which means you are continuously doing it over and over again. Out of these, there are 3 things which are there, which is colored in blue, which is basically the people, the agile process, and strategy. They actually work across both the organization. They're not specific to any forces. But then we have very specific activities we do for each of the forces. That is basically the framework is what I am trying to propose. Okay, let's move on and look at each of the processes in details. So first one is industry rivalry. So we understand very well that if you are running a company or you are running a product organization, you would have something to do about rival organizations. Then you have to beat them in the domain you are operating on. And the way product managers deal with that is basically they come up with a compelling vision. And that's all. I mean, compelling vision, if you have a compelling vision, you can actually beat everything. In fact, the reason it is because what does a vision statement say? Vision statement states 3 things. In fact, single, simple 3 lines should be there in every vision statement. What is a product? What is the need and how the needs are getting addressed, right? And how is it different from competition? These 3 things, once they are there, well defined, you are basically either building the product and that is how you are creating value, or you are messaging it right through a marketing channel or all kinds of channels, or you are doing the segment targeting, positioning, all of that based on that vision. Now, is the vision sacrosanct? No, it has to be course corrected. It has to be, but then vision has to give us some time. So at least you give like 6 months to 1 year to a vision to kind of course correct it. Don't just jump into saying, I want to build a product and every customer I meet, I'm going to change my vision. That's not going to work. And that is exactly what a lot of startups feel limited by, because what they start thinking is, my customer doesn't want the product I want. The moment they talk to one customer and they say, I will do this new thing with him, that's not going to work, right? You have to give your vision certain time. You may take up some of the track projects outside of your vision, but remember, they are not part of the product. Okay, so there is a difference. One needs to understand that there is a product manager. So if you look at today, there is no software product in real sense. Everything is a service. So much so that even the current definition of product, if you look at Michael Porter's book, he's also Philip Kotler's book, he also talks about product is everything you offer to a customer, including services. So services are nothing but a special kind of products. So from that point of view, everything is a product. But then what is the role of a product manager? Product manager is actually looking at giving the same solution to many of his customers, but they see different value of it. So you're basically selling the same product to different customers, and they all see different value, because you have done that use cases you have addressed so beautifully that they actually see that connecting to their solution. So that is basically the product manager's role. Product managers always work on a category. They do not work on every single customer is not a product manager, is not a product management activity. You have to look at the whole category and then bring it. So this segment targeting positioning, if you look at those three areas, it's a very important aspect to understand from a product management standpoint. But you work on a segment of customers at a holistic level. You don't work on one customer, and one customer wants this, that's why I will build it in the product. That's a very different, that's the only difference between a product mindset and a service mindset. And I'll come to that when I talk about DuPont analysis a little later in the strategy discussion, right? So right now we're talking about industry rival. The next one I would like to talk about is basically bargaining buyers. Wherever you want to go sell something, there will be buyers. And there's a difference between a buyer and a customer. Buyer is biased in only one thing. He loves his price. He will bargain it till you pay him the price he's interested in. A customer is different. Customer is looking at value. So when I talk about customer processes, I'm basically talking about transitioning the buyer mindset to a customer mindset. That is basically what a product manager has to do. And when I talk about this, I also say that customer has to be looked at as a trusted advisor. If your customer is bargaining it too hard with you, then probably he's not a good customer to have. In the long run, you will not be able to continue business and you will actually let him go. But at the same time, you also have to be empathetic to the customer's needs. That also is important. So there are two kind of viewpoints. I think in my paper, I have actually talked about a paper where there is empathy is also talked about from product management standpoint. And it's a two-way communication. Whenever it is a customer engagement, has to be two-way. Customer has to give you as much value as you give the customer value. So don't get carried away by this whole customer is the king mindset. That doesn't work with product management. That is a very good mindset to have when you are doing when you're doing support, customer success and that kind of relationships. But basically you're becoming customer advocacy inside the organization. But as a product manager, you have to be unbiased. The second part I want to talk about is user experience. User experience, many people think that it's a good UI is a good solution. That's not true exactly. While UI is a good aspect of a user experience, it is a lot more understanding how the customer is going to use it. So for example, if you're, there are a lot of examples I can think of here, but one little example I would like to add is if I am saying I have to go from say Bangalore to Delhi and I have to take a flight in the morning, I would expect that is enough statement or a good statement as a product manager to write a user story. Now the question is, there is no user interface here. I'm not talking about web. I'm not talking about, that is exactly what the flexibility of the user story is. If your team is going to implement it on the web, they understand they need a drop down for you to select which city to start, which city to end, and which time zones, etc. to be selected. But if you are using a chatbot to do it, that will basically drive you asking those questions in the context sensitive manner. That should not be something. As a product manager, you are interested in the context, which is essentially a travel context where there has to be a from city, there has to be to city, and there has to be time. These three things have to be specified in some manner. That if you can take the crux of this and write a user story or kind of represent it, the technical follow-up or the kind of channel follow-up after that will make this a very compelling story. And the same story is addressable for the web channel as well as for the user interface channel when you go to chatbot or AI based system, or suggestion based on AI, which assistive, basically digital assistants and such kind of tools. So that is why you have to be, as a product manager, you have to be very clear about the context or what problem you're trying to solve. Don't get carried away by, this is now digital enterprise, I will have completely different kind of user stories. No, that's not going to happen. The problem domain is important. Okay. The last part is, of course, pricing. Needless to say, everybody understands the buyer. We're talking about a buyer, and to tame a buyer, you have to do a pricing right. And three principles of pricing: cost, competition, and value perception. Yeah, I'll just leave it that, because we all know how that thing works, right? So that being said, I'll move on to the next one. How do we contain the supplier? So just like buyers, we will have suppliers. Suppliers will try to bargain and take a higher price for things they have done, or they will not meet the quality which we expect. The way to handle that is doing right contract. And now there is a difference between contracting in terms of legal enforcement versus contracting for making sure that what you want is understood from the contract. I think what is, many people say that, I don't want to sign a contract with my supplier because I'm not looking at that big, I'm not going to take him to the court. That is not the reason why you do contracting. You do contracting because you want people to understand what you are expecting from this relationship. And the moment you write it down and you kind of give the right grounds of negotiation, you have basically negotiated the contract and have put in the right warranties and conditions, then you understand that the relationship is a long-term relationship. So that is basically why contracts have to be done. It is, and in fact, there is a paper which I have also referred to in the document where actually categorically says it's a social relationship, not a litigation-oriented relationship. So that is why contracts are important, and product management should involve itself in contracting, not so much leave it to the legal people to do it, because legal people will only look at the contract structuring and legal aspects of it. They will not understand your business. So conditions and warranties, which are basically very much business oriented, they're not really legal oriented. What should be the operating area in which this particular system should work? What should be the operating system for this particular system to work? What should be the security restrictions should be there in the system? All of that are basically functional aspects, and the product manager should be aware of it, right? Okay, so now let's move to the next one. New entrants. New entrants will always get into your business and try to eat away your market, and that's given, right? But at the same time, how do you build potentially strong avenues against new entrants? The way to do it is creating a great intellectual property. So you first have great patents. That's what pretty much a lot of people are doing today. People are forgetting about copyrights. Copyrights are also very sensitive, and source code is always copyrighted. So there are not patents on source code. There are always copyrights on source code. Make sure your source code is well documented, well copyrighted, with all the entries. And if it is to be, if it is not to be shared, it has to be clearly say that this code is not shared in the headers, etc. So that if by some means it goes to the dark web and all the code gets sold, at least people should be able to say this is an illegal transaction going on. Similarly, you have to also potentially take your trademarks seriously. And trademarks are a very beautiful things to think about. I mean, what happens is, there is a very interesting case. You may be thinking that my trademark is, somebody is using my trademark for some other purpose, but it's not in my business, so why should I care? Now, there's this whole interesting case about VIP Bench versus Mercedes Benz, which case kind of came up. VIP came up with this ad for, gentleman's underwear, and then basically that Mercedes Benz didn't like because they were tarnishing the image. They said, Mercedes Benz is, of course, a Mako image, which is basically probably with the underwear also is there. But the point is you're tarnishing, because when you're making such a highly branded car and such value Mako image of a human mind, and you're basically putting something like underwear associated with it. That's not something acceptable. So when it comes to trademarks, you have to be very careful.
Do we just quickly wrap up? We're almost up with the 20 minutes.
I think I have just 2 more slides.
Okay, sure. Yeah, please.
Yeah, so that is basically what you should be very careful about. The last part I would like to talk about is open source. The reason I talk about open source is, as much as you are protecting your IPs, you also have to give respect to your other people's IPs. So if you are using open source, you are basically taken the open source, the whole premise of open source works on recognition. There's no money involved in most of the cases. So the most important thing they look at is the recognition. So if you are using open source, make sure you recognize it right. And particularly make sure if there is restrictions, which are basically GPL and all kind of licenses, which makes your source code to be open, so open along with it, avoid those. Better use something like MIT or, such licenses which you can use in enterprise context. Okay, so now substitute is all about compliance. Substitute, if you have good, strong compliance requirements in organizations, substitute will be difficult to come by. There are a lot of examples in that. I will not get into details, but the compliances can be anything. I mean, it can be based on your domain. It could be legal compliance. It could be industry specific, like healthcare, finance. You have got a lot of compliance requirements there. Of course, now privacy and access is a strong statement which is coming with cloud-based SaaS environments. So compliance is again something, because it's a highly functional area, product management should be aware of it and be conscious about it. Particularly security compliances in the cloud domain are very much geography specific. So if you're going into a market like US or Australia, you may have to do their compliances. In India, you have to follow the Indian compliance requirement. So there's a lot of geography compliance related issues there. Organization best practices. Of course, if you have got strategy, I will not be able to go through all of these strategies in details. But yes, I mean, I would suggest all product managers to be aware of 4 of strategy frameworks: 4 or 5 forces, BCG growth matrix, key success factor of Kenichiwa, and DuPont analysis. DuPont analysis is particularly important because this talks about 3 ratios, right? R over E is R over S into S over A into A over E, right? So as much as R over S and A over E is that important, but that I'm not going to focus on that. I will focus about S over A. S over A is basically telling you that the sales turnover ratio about the assets is basically telling you how good, how can you scale faster. So there is a lot of things which is right now people are talking about growth product management. Now growth product management is all about that S by A ratio. And when I say A is a very generalized ratio here. In software industry, for example, assets are not that much. Fixed assets are not that much. But what you can look at is number of people, number of your servers which are there in the cloud. So those kind of investments, those can be considered as A, and you want to get the maximum number of returns, more returns for it. So it's basically N into P, S equal to N into P, number of copies of cells you make for the price. So now the question is, that is how you get best value for your manpower which you have invested in. So that is why it's very important to understand DuPont analysis a little bit for every product manager. Of course, basic finance requirement for doing ratios, etc., is important. I'll leave it at that. Agile process, again, all product managers are pretty much used to it. You have to make sure that you write the user stories, etc. The last part is, of course, people. People have 2 aspects to it. One is you have to interact with your internal teams very regularly. The second aspect is how do you manage product managers. There's a paper again from McKinsey, which was studied on product management and their HR requirements and all that. And the studies came out that organizations do not focus on product management skill set as much in terms of internally improving that as much they should. Unlike other departments like sales and engineering, all that they focus on. So again, I leave it at that. But managing product managers, I have realized only one thing. One should make sure that treat product managers are adult mindset. If you look at the transactional mindset kind of analysis, transactional analysis of psychology, treat them as adult mindset. So don't try to, the parent-child mindset doesn't really work there. Product managers are very high feel concerned people. They want to feel and fail, and then they want to learn from that and move on. So that's basically a lot around the product management, managing product managers process. Then last, of course, RACI. Always have the RACI right, which is basically you need to understand what are you responsible for, what are you accountable for, where you should contribute, and where just information is enough. So if you have all of these set up, product management organization is well set up. That's all. I think, yeah. So any questions?
Okay, Sambit. Does anyone have questions for Sambit? For his the new framework which he is proposing, right? Which kind of incorporates Porter's 5 forces, and he layers it with the agile processes, strategy, and the people skills required Any questions from any one of you in the audience, please? You can unmute and ask. Okay, in the meantime, Sambit just wanted to ask, uh, how many such projects, I mean, um, can you do a case study of this particular framework in multiple projects and see if it truly covers all the elements of product management, and if this can be projected as the possible framework for any new product manager entering the domain?
Yes, and in fact, I have tried two. Okay, and two are very and so unfortunately, I don't have results yet because I'm still in the ongoing phase. So the two are basically startups. In fact, that's where I came up with this. One thing which they like about this framework is not imposing some kind of a hard bound process. So if I say you do agile process and you do story pointing and all of these kind of things, the organizations are not yet prepared for this. Okay, they say, I understand your principle. I really like the principle that you're looking at competitors, you're looking at substitute, you're looking at the bigger picture on a continuous basis. That is the part people like most. Okay, because what happens in organizations is people don't look at these processes ever and ever again. They write a contract. So for example, I remember there was an old contract which was sitting in my previous organization for 7 years, and nobody looked at why that contract is priced the way it is. Every 7 years we have been paying it. The price of the product has come down, but we are still paying a very high value for that particular product, and that used to happen. And when we actually reviewed the contract, said, no, you have to pay half the price that we are paying the supplier, right? So many a times what happens in organization, we kind of conveniently forget about some things. Well, this framework is making sure that you are looking at your processes over and over again. Okay.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sambit. Thank you so much. And it would be very interesting once you have the case studies in place, if you can, strengthen the paper with the analysis from this multiple case studies. Yes. Thank you. We'll go ahead with our next paper. Right. Our next paper is a systematic review and a bibliometric analysis of blockchain application in consumer service. We have Bhavna and Priya. I think Bhavna has joined the call. Bhavna, would you take over?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning to all.
Good morning.
I'm Priya and she's Bhavna.
Hi, Bhavna and Priya. Sambit, you can probably stop sharing and Bhavna and Priya can share the...
So the presentation, the paper presentation will be done by Bhavna on both of us behalf.
Okay. Yes, Bhavna, you can start.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sharing my screen. I hope my screen is visible and I'm audible too. Yes, Bhavna, continue.
Yes, you are.
Okay. A very good morning to all of you. So I am a research scholar of Atal Bihari Vajpayee School of Management and Entrepreneurship, Jawaharlal Nehru University. And today I'm going to present a paper on systematic review and bibliometric analysis of blockchain application at consumer services. So firstly, I would like to explain the concept of blockchain. So the concept of blockchain was first introduced in 2008 by Satoshi Nakamoto. Blockchain is a kind of database that employs cryptography to keep the track of transactions. And I can say that the blockchain is a distributed ledger system or digital ledger system of storing data in a way that it is difficult or impossible to hack the system. And if hackers want to bring the system down, they would have to alter each and every block in the chain across all the distributed copies, which is very difficult because each and every block comprises a cryptographic hash of previous block and a timestamp and transaction data, and all bounded by cryptography. And if in this paper I'm talking about the consumer services. So the consumers are nowadays interested, and they want to know each and every information related to their products, and they want simplicity, they want transparency, they want traceability. So blockchain technology has the potential to provide these benefits, and they also improves the customers' experiences by improving they improving the customers' experiences by reducing the time from hours to seconds. So now I'm explaining like how blockchain works in consumer services. So firstly, the customer submits an order, and then the transaction is represented online as a block, and then the block is broadcast to all the parties in the network, and then those who are in the network, they approve the transaction as valid, and then the block is added to the chain of transactions for this user, and then the production warehouse logistic add additional blocks, and then the order is fulfilled. Now we have tried to answer these research questions in order to achieve the objective of this study. So the questions are like, what are the recent trends in the publication of blockchain application for consumer services in terms of time, authors, journals, associated countries, institutions, and type of economy? And what are the most impactful publication and research themes in this field? And what have been the evolution of blockchain consumer service over the years? And what are the most current trends in the field? And what are the advantages and challenges of incorporating blockchain technology into consumer services? And what are the research gaps and topics that need to be addressed in the future? Now, the methodology, I have put the pictures instead of words. So the sample was created by Scoopus and Web of Science, and the data the data for the year 2015 to 21 were analyzed, and we have used Prisma procedure to identify the papers, relevant papers, and the total records identified from the Scoopus and Web of Science were 1,355. And we reviewed only English papers, and with the help of our software, 279 duplicates were removed. And after screening on the basis of title, abstract, and full text, only 727 articles met the inclusion criteria of the study. Now the summary of findings, like as I already told in my previous slides, that Satoshi Nakamoto introduced blockchain concept in 2008, but the first study in the review was published in 2015. And then there was a dramatic growth in the number of publication of the studies, and the number of articles published has increased from one article in 2015 to 231 in 2020. 2020 was the peak year, and the annual percentage growth rate is 139.98, which clearly indicates that researchers are more interested in learning about blockchain technology use cases and effects on consumers. Now, based on our data, 2,117 authors associated with 991 institutions spread across 66 countries have published papers on blockchain application and consumer services. The most productive authors, Zavid N, Liu X, Na N, and Zhang X, has the highest number of publication. In contrast, on the other side, Wang Nakamoto and Zhang Liu has the highest number of citations. And there were 453 different journals published papers on the blockchain and consumer services, and the top 15 journals published 155 papers, accounting for 21.32%. The leading journals are IEEE Consumer Electronics Magazine, Lecture Notes in Computer Science, Advances in Intelligent System and Computing, and IEEE Access, ACM International Conference Proceeding Series, Lecture Notes in Network System and Sustainability. And if we are talking about the countries, then the emerging nations like China and India are on the top of the list. And the top institutions are the Hong Kong Polytechnic University, Beijing University of Post and Telecommunication, Northeastern University, and North Important. Now, this is the diagram which is showing the articles by economic classification. We have divided our study, we have divided the literature of the study into two groups. As you can see that 51% of the study were conducted in developed country and 49% of the study were conducted in developing economy. And on the right hand side, this pie chart is showing the documents by subject area. And as you can see that the blockchain is not only, not well linked only with the computer science, but it is linked with the other subjects also, like decision science, mathematics, energy, engineering, etc. But there are very few studies in the subject physics and astronomy. Now, according to the finding, most influential and impactful studies are Nakamoto with the 60 citation and followed by Christidis Davis Securities 2016 with 32 citation, and then Toyota with 15 citation. And we have also done the keyword analysis, and a total 50 keywords were found. And this study is as this study is all about the blockchain. So the blockchain is the most commonly used keywords, and followed by commerce, supply chain, and Internet of Things. And this is the thematic map. This is a thematic map, and these are the 4 quadrants. And the trust, human, article, consumer, power markets, electric power, transmission networks are the niche themes with high density and lower centrality. Whereas the blockchain, supply chain, supply chain management, Internet of Things, digital storage, and information management are the basic themes with low density but high certainty. And this is the diagram which is showing the like which topic is were trending on which year. So as you can see that the blockchain is the most trending topic over the years. Now, these are the co-citation networks. This is the reference co-citation network. Co-citations means like how many times 2 or more references cited simultaneously. So this is called the node. So the bigger the node, the more citation the reference has. And these are the lines which represent the relationship between the 2 references. So the thicker the line, the strongest the relationship the 2 nodes have. So and this is the author co-citation network. Similarly, these are the Nakamoto, Wang, and Zhang. These authors has the highest number of citations, and these lines representing the relationship between the authors. Now, the advantages and challenges of incorporating blockchain technology into consumer services. So the advantages are immutable data record. The the data in the blockchain are tamper-proof. So no one can change or alter the data without the knowledge of others because it is cryptographically linked or encrypted. Next is decreased transaction cost. Yes, it is. This is the main and important benefit of blockchain technology because blockchain helps the customers to make a payment and transaction more quickly, as well as saving money on transaction fees. And then the better security, yes, actually the blockchain technology uses the consensus mechanism. Like every party in the network validate and approve the transaction. So it provides security. Then greater transparency, as blockchain technology is an open ledger system. So it provides transparency. Everyone can see the transactions related to their product. And then improved traceability. Customers can trace their products and make sure that their products are not being misused. Then increased efficiency. Yes, blockchain technology removes the needs of middlemen, intermediates, and third-party service providers. So it facilitates and provides faster transactions. Then challenges of blockchain technology into consumer services, privacy and security of data. Yes, privacy and security of data are the most critical challenges of blockchain technology because blockchain uses a consensus mechanism. So it enables whole community to see and access the data. So which creates the privacy and security threat. Then the storage capacity management. Yes, as blockchain technology has grown in popularity and it spread its wings across all the and various domains, so storage issue become apparent. And as we are talking about the consumers, so consumers process a vast volume of data, so it creates a storage issues. Then after that, interoperability issues, like in blockchain, the capacity to see and access information is known as interoperability. And nowadays, companies are using different types of their own system of their own blockchain system, which are with unique features and which are different from other system and do not related to and they are not connected to each other. So it creates lack of interoperability, and due to the lack of interoperability, the widespread adoption is become difficult for the consumers. And then the social challenges, like in India, there is a lack of recognition of government, and it will impact the it impact on the public opinion. And the standardization challenges, like as you know that the blockchain technology is in infant stages, so government should implement international standardization for the blockchain technology. Now, the future research direction, the study has suggested some future research directions, and the researcher can answer the following research questions, like what are the perceived benefits of putting blockchain technology into practice for consumers? How does blockchain affect consumers in developed and developing countries? Like researchers might be done the comparative study on developed and developing countries, and what are the significant obstacles customers face in embracing blockchain? How can we overcome these obstacles and pitfalls? And in addition, like we have used Scopus and Web of Science databases, so other students or future research scholars make use PubMed, ERIC, and Gesture. Now, the conclusion of the study is like a lot of research had been done on blockchain in the supply chain and food supply chain for food traceability and energy sector for consumer service. And the study is also showing that blockchain has the potential in terms of application in consumer service. However, there are many obstacles and difficulties to overcome, such as I have already told in my previous slides, like security of data, storage issues, interoperability issues, acceptability issues, and standardization. And if I'm talking about the findings of the study that can be helpful for the development and management of software products, yes, blockchain is being seen as a major contributor to emerging computing paradigms, and the benefits of blockchain technology is critical to software products today. Now, like implementing blockchain in products value chain could well become perquisite for the software industry, and the blockchain technology are extremely useful in software products where the multiple number of intermediates are involved. Now, the benefits of blockchain serve as a wake-up call for regulators and policymakers to develop regulations that welcome blockchain technology in other areas of consumer services. For example, travel and mobility, healthcare, retail, customer packaged goods, agriculture, information service, entertainment, etc. And the research work indicates that the benefits of blockchain are consistent across all the population from developing to developed. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhavna. Thank you, Bhavna and Priya. Yeah, wonderful insights on blockchain and its application for consumer service. Right? Anyone in the audience have any questions for them?
Yes, no question.
Shankdeep, yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So, Bhavna, it was a good presentation. You have done extensive analysis of literature in blockchain. But why limiting yourself only to finding out the advantages and disadvantages of blockchain? There can be more insights that can be gleaned out of extensive literature review like that, right? So maybe creating some kind of framework, research framework, having antecedents of blockchain adoption and consequence, or some other kind of things, right, that you can think about, because advantages and disadvantages are sort of well known by now of blockchain, right? So what more can you bring? What more insights can you bring to the table? So That is one comment I had. Yeah.
Actually, I have done the bibliometric analysis along with the systematic review, and I believe that the researcher should do bibliometric analysis along with the systematic review of his topic, and that's why I've limited the study only to the advantages and disadvantages of the blockchain technology, because I have done bibliometric analysis.
We have also done the impact of blockchain in the consumer service with respect to each and every area of consumer service. That also we have done it in the paper, only despite of because 10 PPTs were being asked, so we excluded some of the matter on our PPT. But yes, impact and future directions work with respect to each and every consumer service product has also been done with respect to food security, with respect to the various other parameters with respect, in terms of blockchain application. That has been done in the paper. Bhavna, you can show the paper if the house permits.
Yeah,
Great. So that sounds good. Like impact of blockchain on every consumer service. That sounds really insightful and really good contribution.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
that we did actually in the paper. We have done the paper is very lengthy, and we have done each and every aspect of blockchain application of consumer service in each direction, with asking all those research questions which can come out in each and every sector. That has been done in the paper. So if you want to, we can share the paper right now and we can show it to you.
Yeah, Professor Shankdeep will get the paper. I think he also has it. Yeah, thank you, Priya and Bhavna. We saw the roadmap that you had for blockchain research for these individual streams of consumer service. Right. Thank you for the.
I have one question on the.
Sambit, yeah. Can we keep it
just a quick
quick and
Can you just go back to the limitations of blockchain? I have a concern there. Can you move the slide to the limitations slide, please?
I have now moved to the limitation part.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, this year. Privacy and security on blockchain, I thought it is rather the other way around. The government is having a problem in terms of dealing with blockchain because it's so private, plain information can be stored that, currency exchanges from people can be hidden. So it is a very kind of blockchain you're using. It is not a generic thing. There are some blockchains which are public, which are not. So you have to kind of probably think about a little bit on that. The second part, I think, which is probably missing in the blockchain is maintaining a blockchain network is very expensive. Although there is a lot of claims right now going on, I think that should be there in the challenges. If you really want to maintain a very large public blockchain, the kind of power consumption and all that, that's a big research area in itself. And that has been kind of missed out in this. So I don't know, it's probably not talked about in the kind of papers you looked at, but I'm sure that's also another area to look at. I think that's the two suggestions I would like to give.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your feedback. I hope we have really missed that part. So we'll cover that part too. Thank you for your wonderful feedback, Dr. Sambit. Thank you so much.
No, I'm not doctor. Sorry.
Sambit, thank you.
I'm a professional. I'm not academic.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nevertheless, thank you for the
incorporate,
feedback. Yeah, sure. Thanks, Priya and Bhavna, and thanks, Sambit. Should we go ahead with our next paper? This is the paper on role of AI, right? Now we have seen blockchain, now we're going to role of AI in marketing, right? That's also a review of literature. This is by Purnima Bhatnagar and Amoli Tadiparthi. Purnima? Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, 1 second. Can you see my screen? Yeah. Ma'am, are you able to listen to me? Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. Can you please make this into the presentation mode so that?
Yes, I will. Amoli, are you there?
Yes. Yeah, I am.
Okay, all right. So Amoli is going to begin and then I will take over.
Sure.
Awesome. So good morning to all present. I'm Amoli Tadiparthi, a student of biology at Baylor University in Texas. United States. And my co-author is Dr. Purnima Bhatnagar, Department of Management at Dialbag Educational Institute in Agra, India. Today, we will be presenting the paper titled The Role of Artificial Intelligence in Marketing, a Review of Literature. So after introducing the topic, we will discuss the research method, findings, future research areas, and limitations of the study. The fourth industrial revolution is expected to be an age of significant change, especially from the perspective of emergence of new technologies, information technology, and digitalization. In this context, artificial intelligence, which is one of the technological innovations associated with the present age, presents interesting research implications for the business field, especially in marketing, which is what we'll talk about. So this paper intends to investigate the state of current research on the role of AI in marketing. We intended to understand what have been focus areas and what are the underlying issues which researchers have identified so far. So here are a few key definitions and terms. We begin with the accepted definitions of the two main terms we'll be talking about, AI and marketing. The Oxford Dictionary defines AI as the theory and development of computer systems able to perform tasks normally requiring human intelligence, such as visual perception, speech recognition, decision-making, and translation between languages. Terms associated with AI identified from literature review include narrow AI, general AI, machine learning, deep learning, chatbots, human-in-the-loop systems, and etc. Marketing, on the other hand, has been defined by the American Marketing Association as the activity, set of institutions, and processes for creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offerings that have value for customers, clients, partners, and society at large. Some of the terms associated in the intersection between AI and marketing, which were identified from literature review, include smart advertising, marketing AI, algorithmic, and autonomous marketing. Okay, so for the purpose of the present study, we conducted a systematic literature review of papers published in high-quality journals between 2010 and 2021. The databases sourced were Web of Science, Scopus, JSTOR, ProQuest, EBSCO, and Google Scholar. The visual representation of the process is depicted on the slide. As can be seen, the study was conducted in two phases, with an initial resulting in 75 papers. We're very grateful to the conference organizers for guiding us to enhance the papers reviewed from. With the Web of Science search, we were able to obtain 1,000 papers more pertaining to the relevant topic, which were then reviewed and narrowed down to 81 papers. And of these 81 papers, 16 duplicate papers were then removed, ultimately leaving us with a total number of 140 papers at the end. In the final analysis, these 140 papers were reviewed for thematic analysis, cluster analysis, word occurrence using RStudio, Excel, and online sites. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Purnima Bhatnagar to present the findings.
Thank you, Amoli. All right, so on this slide, this indicates actually the increased intensity of interest in the area of AI and marketing in recent years, especially during the period 2019 to 2021, where we have a maximum number of articles published in 2021 at 48. Slide 9 indicates actually the list of journals, and we have given around 20 journals which are represented in the next two slides. And this indicates that out of 86 journals, the maximum number of papers were published in the Journal of Advertising, and Psychology and Marketing had 8 journals, Industrial Marketing Management around 5, and then there are a lot of journals which have published around 2 papers each. The next piece of analysis that we wanted to do is, okay, what are the kind of articles that are being published in the various journals, and what are the themes and sub-themes that are coming across? So these encompass applications which are associated with advertising, trust in social media platforms, consumer perception, customer engagement, judgment, likeness, acceptance for AI-based applications and interaction with firms, either from the perspective of customer service or voice automated services, chatbots, digital sales agents, etc. A few papers were also there which discuss the management of AI. Now, slide 12 actually gives the top 20 words which occurred in the abstracts. So there is emphasis on the words consumer, customer, of course, marketing is there, service, advertising, digital, social, as well as process. This gives a kind of a word cloud for the top 30 words. And we additionally see words like chatbots, online, sales emerge as we increase the depth of the analysis. We went one level further to understand, these abstracts and divided them into those which were representing the customer perspective, the marketer perspective, and safety and security perspective, which was also a theme of the conference. And we see that when we look at these abstracts from the perspective of the customer, we're looking at words like technology, chatbots, online interaction, human data, robots appearing. Whereas from the marketer perspective, there is a higher frequency of words related to advertising, research, digital technologies, sales, and process. The papers dealing with safety and security aspects had words like customer, privacy, data, information, and social occurring the most. Next, we conducted a cluster analysis to understand the interlinked themes of the papers. And we find that there were 6 themes which included consumer research and data, future of online services, chatbots, results-based frameworks, humans and technology use, management process, as well as sales appearing to be linked. Finally, we went on to also read through the papers and understand what were some of the issues that were coming up. And related to the first, there were 5 that we were able to identify, and the work is still continuing, but we wanted to present what we found so far. And the first one was related to industry standards for data mining. And there are a group of researchers, Overguer, Chika, Rand, and Vaishempel. Their paper of 2019 talks about data marketing and to use CRISP DM framework, which is a cross-industry standard process for data mining framework to avoid issues that might appear. Then we have another set of issues which are appearing, whereby it is observed that marketers' knowledge about AI may present an opportunity for enhancement. And they caution us that because there may be gaps in our understanding as marketers, not being IT people, so we need to understand how we can operationalize AI for B2B marketing and decision making. Further, there is another group of researchers like Hayes, Britt, Evans, Rush, Tari, and Adamson, who in their 2021 paper cautioned us that social media listening platforms, which extract insights from social media for brand management, are emerging areas of concern. And another group of researchers led by Quinton has talked about psychological reductionism, which I found interesting, of marketing automation. So they actually talk about data-driven marketing and how it tends to focus on behavior in the form of revealed preferences. So it's ignoring the mental processes that lead to behaviors, especially the aspirational preferences of customers. So just to take an example, and they've taken it. So I'm really looking at their paper and saying, by showing a recovering smoker advertisement of cigarettes basis his or her browsing history, marketers may deprive the smokers of improving their character and enjoying a better quality of life. So some platforms like Facebook or now Meta have started using the rationale for showing recommendations, which may be termed as more ethical, and also give consumers the autonomy to continue seeing or removing the choice to observe these advertisements. So those are interesting thought processes which we came across when we are looking at preparing marketers to use AI tools. The next one is about uncertain effects of AI implementation in marketing. And there's a group of researchers, Jarek and Mazurov, who said that the results of deployment in AI in marketing are not very well understood. And though it says that all aspects of marketing mix, including the marketing function organization, may be impacted. But we still need to be careful about defining the objective functions, create safe learning environments, having unbiased AI, and creating AI which can be controlled. Then the next lot of issues is around preparing customers to experience AI. I mean, all businesses are there to serve customer needs. So Brill, Munoz, and Miller, for example, have talked about integration of digital assistants into firm functioning to help prepare customers and to identify their expectations from such an interface. And another group of researchers, Bakpayev and Belk, have talked about that if their customers feel that their identity is being threatened, they will resist the automation of services. And resistance is also expected when they expect algorithms to endanger their privacy, their security, their wealth, and their opportunities. So when there are intrusive data capture mechanisms or experiences that customers go through, that can be a deterrent for greater deployment of AI. And also, if customers are not aware of how that information may be actually aggregated. And associated last issue that we come across is safety and privacy concerns. So privacy, as we know, is defined as control of self, and privacy control is when we as users have the option of controlling, and freely determining the degree of information that we want to share. So this aspect is of importance because nearly about 4.5 million internet users are there in the world, and most of them are using social networks. So this also has application in the design of social internet of things. There are new key terms which are coming up, which are not there in traditional literature. And I think it would be interesting to even create a glossary of these terms, but that's a side conversation. However, so most there is another group of, researchers like Chung, Chen, Zai, and Huang, who in their 2021 paper have said that most scholars are actually concerned with privacy risk or privacy management, but they're not concerned about giving more descriptions on privacy control methods or the role that this may have. So the next two slides actually talk or indicate about some of the future research areas which have been pointed out by researchers. And they're talking about application of AI and robotics in marketing, in-store technology, what makes customers adopt new technologies, programmatic advertising, how AI affects sales processes, how it will create value for customers. And all these things are important when we are talking about software product management. In terms of limitations of this study, I believe we could have further enhanced the time span of the study and included more product management aspects, which we are now also mapping out currently to see which ones are getting impacted. And that is another level of study that needs to be enhanced. And while reviewing these papers, if we come to certain areas, we came across some new questions of our own. They may be relevant, they may not be relevant. I don't know at this stage of time. So it is more of thinking aloud. So kindly bear with me. For example, is it now time for a new P of marketing in the form of Paravidya management or knowledge management? Analytics has become so important. So which P of marketing mix will really capture it? That's a question that springs in our mind. Marketing literature points to the P of people. Now, how do we include or incorporate artificial intelligence beings or entities or AIBs, if you want to call them that? Do we include robots, cyborgs, etc., and other forms of artificial intelligent beings in the P of people? Another interesting array of literature is reviewing the comfort which customers derive from the presence of AI. And this poses the question that as is AI more humane than humans when we talk of customer experiences? And what kind of opportunities or dangers exist when we talk of that? So it's more psychological that we are talking about. Is AI a significant entity or discussion on marketing and emerging economies? So that is again another question. And finally, how do we resolve the questions around, the issue slide that we have, privacy management, training customers and marketers to handle or experience AI, bring in more certainty around customer experiences, etc. So to conclude, we all understand it's a dawn of a new age, new technologies, new experiences, and uncertain future. And the fourth industrial revolution requires new frameworks, new research and controls built into systems so that trust and privacy is not harmed in the way of marketing of products and services. And finally, both the authors are greatly indebted to revered Professor P.S. Satsangi, who is the Chairman Advisory Committee on Education, the Albag Educational Institute, for intuitive guidance and immense grace in completion of its study from its inception. And this is the research team. And thank you. We're open for questions. And I will give the screen controls, Lakshmi ma'am. One second.
Sure. Thank you, Purnima. Thank you, Amoli. Yeah, very insightful. Probably I just had one comment in the sense it could be a great way to take this research forward if it's some particularly for marketing. What are the aspects where you want total automation from AI, and where should the human part come? You should just augment your human counterpart with information and let him take the decision. So who takes,
Yes.
Is it so that would be
very pertinent, ma'am. Yeah,
very that would be a good future research direction. Any questions from anyone in the audience?
I have a question, Sambit.
Yes, Sambit sir.
Go ahead.
Can you just go back to the dendrogram slide?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So as far as no, the one previous to that. Yeah, this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a concern. The concern is your keywords for search for selecting the papers for marketing artificial intelligence, isn't it?
Yes, AI and marketing.
Right. So if they are the and they are basically your keywords, should they not be stop words when you're doing cluster analysis?
Should they not be stop words? Yeah, I guess we
obviously
can.
every document will have them, right? So
true,
point.
Absolutely. Right. We can definitely improve upon that.
If you eliminate those and draw the dendrogram, I think you would create a much better clustering, which you are
okay,
not
wonderful, sir. I'll do that.
Yeah? Okay.
We'll do that.
I think that's
thank you so much, Sambit sir. And
Thank
perhaps some of your framework, Sambit sir, can really address these issues, which we are just detecting. We're thinking aloud as researchers. It's a new field for both of us. I mean, we are not software product management professionals, but it's very interesting because we are users, and Amoli is in the US and I'm here, and all of us have different experiences of how we are interfacing with AI. So I think these are something that we as a combined team can, work upon. So thank you so much.
Definitely.
Yeah?
You can send me an email. We can discuss further.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
So Dr. Purnima, if I remember correctly, you were here last year also.
Last year, yes.
Yes.
You presented last year. Yes.
So you are now a regular on SPM Summit, I guess.
Sir, I love the thing because you see, I work with I work with Genpact for nearly 10 years, and Circo. I'm an old GE person from the years 2000 to 2010, and it was and I grew along with the company and handled a lot of accounts, and we were constantly interfacing with softwares. And I was also part of training team. I'm a certified Six Sigma black belt. So we've looked at IT processes, automations, etc. as users, not from the software, not from the design of it perspective, but we've put in our comments to them. So it's an area of interest, basically. That's what I'm saying. And even Amoli is very tech savvy. And so we have different experiences.
Great. Yeah, so welcome back to this year's edition.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Yes,
It has been a very knowledgeable. Actually, your pre-conference workshops were very, very knowledgeable, and they really set my, perspective right on things. It was very interesting. So thank you for hosting this actually.
Sure, great. So one quick comment I would have on this
Yes, sir.
study. So you have mentioned the issues, so that is sort of
Yes.
synthesized very well from the literature. But what about the solutions? So are they, because usually in the papers when they mention issues and all that, so they also
They try to give
some
solutions.
and
Yes, sir.
solutions here. So is there
This study is still work in progress, I'm afraid to say. So that is something I'll definitely, we are still looking at all the papers and redesigning. Whatever we have got so far, we will definitely, like to put it up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Purnima. Wonderful
Thank you,
having
ma'am.
you here. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. We'll go ahead with our next paper, the last paper for the session. This is developer experience for software platforms and short case studies and a few key lessons. This is from Manojit Basu. Mr. Manojit? Yeah?
Hello,
Yeah.
hello, madam.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
You're audible, yes.
Okay,
You can share
thank
your
you.
screen and
Thank
start
you.
your presentation.
I'll share my screen, yes.
Yes, perfect.
Is the slide deck visible now?
Yeah, it is. Can you just move it to presentation mode and then you can start? Yes.
Yeah, it is in presentation mode now.
Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Manojit Basu. Currently I'm an entrepreneur. I have a IT consulting company in Bangalore. We work on cloud computing, IoT, AI, ML, and analytics, and recently also working with the National Digital Health Mission. I have, a soft corner, if you will, for product management because in the early stage, I started as a product manager.
You're not audible, Manojit.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, I did create the. I set it to slideshow, but for some reason, it's not visible as slideshow on the other side.
No, it is not visible as a slideshow.
Okay. Just give me a second, please.
Yes, you can close this window on the left, probably. Yes.
I'm just doing from beginning. Then now it should be slideshow, right?
No.
Manojit, towards the lower end where there's 63%.
Yeah, click on that, make it 100%. Yeah.
No, let's click on that.
That one, yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Just click on that.
Yes.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Should come right now. Okay, something is wrong, unfortunately.
You can try resharing your screen or something.
Yeah, stop sharing it and then share.
Okay, I'll do a, yeah, I guess I need to share the whole screen. Yeah. And then.
Yeah, this is good. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, and sorry for the disruption. Okay, I'll go ahead with the presentation now. So, as I was saying, I worked as a product management and product marketing for a few years in IBM, and I believe at that time product management was still a new concept in India. So I learned, and I still enjoy sharing my learnings and learning from others, and that is why I joined this product management conference, which is which is really a great platform for people like us who work on product management and product marketing. So coming to the topic, essentially this topic is about developer experience, which is a little different from user experience, in that user experience is a topic that has been researched a lot, and there are frameworks, there are processes, there are well-known processes and frameworks in place. Whereas developer experience is still a subject matter of perception to a large extent, and that is something that requires a little bit of change, at least from a product management perspective, because when we compete, there are so many platforms coming up, and we see the emphasis on platforms in this conference as well. When there are so many platforms coming up, we as product managers, of course, we can count on our talented R&D team to come up with excellent developer experiences over and over again in product releases. But we as product managers will be called upon to also take a little bit of an analytical view of how to improve developer experience in a more measured, calibrated way, because we have to compete with other platforms for every $1 million of revenue. And that is where this analytical and structured approach may be required, which may not be there to the extent that it is there for user experience today. So it is a small initiative on my part to suggest some ways of building a structured approach for measuring and improving and competing on developer experience. So in developer experience, we mean a platform on which applications can be built, essentially a method or process to build better applications faster, which means tools, frameworks, workflows, but it has to be extensible and customizable and integrate well with other systems. But don't forget the programmatic interfaces. Even with the low-code, no-code approaches that are coming up, it's still 80-20 or 70-30, maybe 60-40. We still need a lot of programming. So the programmatic interfaces have to be really, really smooth in order for the developer experience to shine over there. Now, the unique challenges in developer experience is the variety and diversity. You can't go and tell a developer that don't use this programming language. If that is his or her favorite programming language, you need a SDK in that programming language. It's a turn off if you don't have an SDK in that programming language. Then the interfaces are specialized. Today it's not like okay, I have a set of widgets for a bookshop, online bookshop, some of which I can reuse in an online music shop. It's not exactly like that. The interfaces are somewhat, in the technical jargon, they are called thick clients or rich clients, like Eclipse, and some other similar interfaces. And new interfaces are being built again and again. For example, when cloud came, we had to build, there was a innovation in terms of a console, something like a Unix terminal, which is cloud native in nature. Today, we are building developer experiences, developer workbenches for AR, VR applications. So these things we have to think over and over again. We can't reuse the same kinds of widgets that we use that in user experience we can do. The other important challenge that comes to our mind today is developer experience is also about democratization. It is about adoption. You need a critical mass of people before you can start monetizing it. If nobody is using the platform because it's too highly priced, then no matter how useful, how great the developer experience is, it may still be unused by a large segment of the developer community. Now, if that is so, but we invest in R&D to bring about the developer experience, how do we monetize that? So that is a challenge, and we will talk about that also in this paper. So the scope of this research was thinking of a platform. Now, platform definition can be of various natures. So in order to scope it for this paper, we think of a platform is a software entity on which you can build applications. consisting of runtimes, frameworks, tools, extensions, and programmatic interfaces. Now, in terms of a product management perspective, we can think of lots of things that are related to developer experience. In this paper, we scoped it to 4 pillars. One, the developer preferences and choices. We already talked about the combinatorial explosion of developer preferences and choices that we are faced with when we want to cater to a large developer community. The second is about developer productivity. So how do we make sure that we can improve upon developer productivity? But the first challenge is, can we have an objective measure of developer productivity? Because otherwise, how will we improve? Now, the other two are more closer to traditional product management and traditional marketing. One is about marketing and communications, but how do we market and how do we communicate to a developer audience? That is the key, because it's a little different than communicating with a business audience. And the fourth one is about monetization, pricing and monetization. So we will talk about these 4 areas when we talk about developer experience and our case studies in this paper. Now, as I said, there is not as much a body of literature or frameworks or processes. Maybe there are some proprietary ones, but not enough publicly available frameworks or processes on developer experience compared to user experience. And therefore, the approach to building out this research was, we took some case studies. We took short case studies of a few diverse platforms, both SaaS and PaaS. Okay, so there we took Postman, which is an API management platform. We took a data analytics platform. We took an interpretable AI platform, and we also took the example of an augmented reality platform. And we tried to figure out about 5 key success factors because of which they are widely adopted by the developer community. That is one part of the research. The other part was about doing a larger survey of products, not in terms of a case study, but at least picking up some useful examples of their pricing, of their product releases, of their marketplace, for example, how they're building, how they're designing a marketplace for a more robust or more vibrant ecosystem, because that's very important for a platform. So those best practices have been assimilated in this paper in the form of a list of learnings, which we will share in the next few slides. And obviously, my own experience as a product manager and in product marketing also, I have shared some of those key learnings in this paper wherever appropriate. So we will not go into all the case studies in the presentation, but I hope you will have a chance to read through the detailed case studies. I'll go into one of the case studies, which is Postman. So to understand why Postman it's a simple yet such a powerful platform. Now, what made it so powerful? The important thing was the innovation they brought in. Innovation they brought in was a tooling for an API first design strategy. Now, earlier, and this is where I also worked in the B2B integration space. There used to be an ERP, or there used to be a CRM, and then as an afterthought, there used to be an API layer to connect it with other businesses. Now today, when we have mobile apps using APIs, when we have travel APIs, when we have even new architectures like microservices, which are built on the premises of APIs, there we need to start from APIs, thinking of APIs without having built the entire backend system. We can't wait for the entire backend system to come up before we create an API layer in front of it. That will work for legacy systems, but that will not work for the new age applications. And second, so we have to think of APIs just like we think of data models. So we think of data models and programming logic relatively independently when we build an application. The same can be done for APIs, and that is called an API first design, but there was no tooling for it. So Postman created a process, a tooling. When we build any platform, and the important thing is not just the tools, just ensembling the tools together, but it should actually automatically reveal an elegant process. That is what developers look for. So this the tool that API that Postman built automatically had a process baked in for API first design, which is now the preferred process which is being followed across enterprises also. So that is where Postman came up with a very innovative platform. It is simple yet so innovative and so useful. And then it is continuing to innovate on that using low code, no code approaches. For example, it has a new experimental feature called Flow, where APIs can be composed using a graphical tool instead of having to write a lot of code. And then they are also openly engaged with the community in terms of developer experience. It is very important to be a little open. We can even share a little bit of what's coming next. In many other products, these things are very confidential. But in case of developer experience, you have to balance between confidentiality and openness with the developer community. So with some of those right steps, Postman is now adopted by millions of developers across the world, and with that strength, now they have a chance to gradually start pricing it for enterprise customers and make greater revenues. So the initial focus was on developer adoption, and once the developer adoption actually crossed a certain threshold, and now they have different pricing models by which they can actually monetize the platform in even better ways. So now we will not go into the other case study, but we will bring out some examples where in the next few slides we will talk about the four learnings, the learnings on the four different pillars of developer experience that we talked about. The first one was about the combinatorial explosion of developer choices. Developer experience means you have to give them a lot more choices, because developers, they like what they like. It's not feasible to really question them on that. So how to give them more choices? So in one of these case studies, you'll find the data analytics platform. Anybody who has worked on a data analytics platform will see that these platforms have connectors with easily 100 different backend systems, including databases. So that is like a long tail. That is like managing a long tail, because not all of those are equally popular. Maybe 80% of them are using only 4 databases. But still, in order to make the platform popular, you have to support many more backend systems. So that is an example of a long tail. How do you manage a long tail? So there are differences between the long tail and the long tail that we talk about in terms of digital products. But still, there are at least 3 areas where the key approaches for managing a long tail for digital products may be adapted for managing a long tail of developer preferences. Those are democratizing products, democratizing production, democratizing distribution, and connecting supply and demand. Now, the adaptation that we are talking about is how do you democratize production? It's giving the ecosystem. So firstly, you have to build a very well-defined ecosystem that is incentivized. It is not just allowing a haphazard ecosystem to grow. You have to create ecosystem, you have to create differentiators in the ecosystem, like some may be development technical players in the ecosystem, some may be solution providers, some may be resellers. We have to create a properly architected ecosystem. And then we have to actually build a democratizing platform on that ecosystem so that people can easily build and extend our platform, because those ecosystem players help our platform succeed, because we can't do everything ourselves. Secondly, it's very important to have an online interaction. That is through when we talk about ecosystem players, the discussion is more higher bandwidth. We can't just depend on a single customer service call. It has to be, it may be through a Slack channel, it may be through some tutorials, it may be through a forum where people can share the problems they're facing with the platform and get a very useful exchange of ideas from our own development team. Democratizing distribution, this is tricky because firstly, we want more extensions of the platform to be published. But then what about the quality? Because if some of them are not good quality, it will bring down the impression of our platform. So there you have to have gatekeeping mechanisms for the quality of the deliverables that we get from the ecosystem.
Manojit, sorry to interrupt you, but can we just hasten it a little? We are running out of time.
Sure, madam. And finally, about connecting supply and demand. This is about a marketplace, but marketplace has to have a good information about ratings, support options, what kind of support the marketplace offer, and other information that helps connect the customers with the right participants in the marketplace. Then we talk about continuous innovation for developer productivity. Where does it start from? We have a set of use cases. As product managers, we manage the use cases. So we have to revisit the use cases, but from the eyes of somebody who has not developed the product. For example, in user experience, you'll find user experience designers sometimes leave people with a task, and then they observe from behind. And that way they figure out whether the user experience is intuitive or not. In case of a product manager working on the improving product developer productivity, we have to revisit the tool chains used for each particular use case, and then figure out, is this tool chain intuitive? Are there gaps? Can we make strategic acquisitions? And these strategic acquisitions could be forward-looking. For example, Facebook acquired Little Eye Labs. At that time, its mobile application platform was still in the early stages. But what happened was that integration over a couple of years is now creating a very strong, much more powerful synergy, because now Facebook has a much more well-fleshed out mobile application development platform, and the Little Eye Labs provides the application performance profiling that is so crucial. And then we can stretch the limits of automation using RPA and low-code and no-code approaches. Is it measurable? Is development approaches measurable? I'm not answering this I'm not providing a final answer. All I can say is that there are new frameworks coming up which are really interesting, like the space framework, which has come out recently. As product managers, we have to keep our attention focused on new frameworks to measure, because if developer experience is crucial to the success of our products, then we better find out the best approaches to measure it in a better way. And also we can use some of the data mining techniques on user forums, developer forums, Slack channels, etc., to build something like a developer sentiment analysis. What about the marketing messages? The key important thing about marketing messages is there has to be a developer to developer connect. It is not about the business marketing part. It has to be developer and through the sales enablement. When developer experience is at stake, the first thing is through sales enablement, where we need a good set of sample applications, pre-configured machines for sales to go and sell it to enterprise customers in particular. And in terms of marketing messages, let some of our development team actually be evangelists for the product, and also allow the external community to share their technical solutions, because their opinion is unbiased and valued across other developers. And marketing benefits from openness, as we saw in the Postman case study. It is very important to be a little more open with the developer community. Now, the key important thing is, with all this, we have invested in R&D. So we have spent money. How do we monetize from the platform? This is an example of Postman, how they had a disproportionate growth at some point in time, but there has to be somebody to invest in the platform till that point. And secondly, so there has to be some indirect monetization. One is, so we can learn from the PaaS concept. The PaaS is an assembled set of tools that reduces the cost of development. And this is what the author speaks about in Cloudonomics. stretching it further, developer experience, we have to find ways to reduce the total cost of development, built-in templates, workflows, pre-configured integrations. And there'll be many, many ideas which are specific to your platform, which can bring down the total cost of development and create a consumer surplus, which means the developer or the development team may be willing to pay us that as a price for our efforts. And secondly, we have to map the transition. Maybe we have a core platform that is free, but we can map the transition to a new platform that these same customers will transition to in their journey of technology adoption. For example, Hitachi Data Systems, they have a core platform called Pentaho, which is a data analytics platform, which is largely free. However, they have a data lake platform which builds on this platform, so that the users who are already advanced users of data analytics may transition into data lake architecture, and then they may transition into the paid platform happily. So that is another way of indirect monetization that we can exploit. So in conclusion, we assimilated best practices in crafting superior developer experiences and aligned them with traditional strategic marketing principles. Why? Because if we can align them with strategic marketing principles, then as product managers, we can use or adapt some of these principles more confidently in our day-to-day job. So we leave you with a closing thought, and this is an example of a AR/VR platform, AR/VR development platform. And I'm rephrasing from what Philip Kotler talks about in the context of customers' experience, but I'm talking about, I'm rephrasing it because I feel there's a similarity that we can think of in terms of developer experience. So whenever we build out a new developer experience, yes, we can further mechanize the programmable part of it. However, we can leave a little space for human insights and divergent thinking. That will probably lead to winning developer experiences for new platforms, especially with the new age platforms like in AR, VR, or in artificial intelligence that we see today. Thank you.
Thank you, Manoj. I really appreciate the work on the developer experience side, because we rarely find many studies focusing on the developer side and the developer experience side of products. Any questions from any one of us here on the call? Yeah. Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Manoj. It was wonderful to hear from all the speakers today, and I have learned a lot, and hopefully you have a lot to take away from the call as well. So we really appreciate the fact that you have submitted your papers here. We enjoyed listening to you, and there are a lot more sessions lined up on the industry track. We hope you join the industry track post this. And yes, Samvit?
I just wanted to understand if these papers are downloadable from somewhere. I mean, can I?
Yes, the published versions will be circulated. Right?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So thank you, everyone. All the very best, and we'll join you in the other track soon. Right? We have a lot more sessions lined up for today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.